Welcome to OkState Daily. Casey Porter here. So glad that you decided to tune in on a beautiful Saturday morning or whenever you're watching this video. So glad you decided to tune in. Fans, today we have a lot to talk about. Now, we're going to save, of course, if you're watching this video was recorded on a Saturday morning. We're going to save a lot of our deep conversations about the chant that happened in the basketball game on Wednesday night and the press conference from Eric Morris and a lot of the basketball action and just kind of the overall OSU stuff. We're going to save all of that for tonight's live show when Scott McKinley joins for McKinley Minute. So that'll be at 8 o'clock tonight, Central Time, whenever all of the basketball action has concluded. We're going to talk about some wrestling, and we're going to cover all of that on our live show. So it's been a very interesting week. It's been one that has been very exciting, very frustrating at the same time, but then also, just kind of one of those deals to where you end up at the end of the week and you have some thoughts on it and you give it and then you move on. And I think that's where OSU has to be at this point. So again, going to save those thoughts on all of that stuff until tonight's show. So make sure and tune in to that. And so what today's show is going to be, and again, I can't do a live on it because the videos will get copyrighted. And if that being the case, I don't mind the copyright because all really the copyright does is keep the video from being monetized, which means I can't make any money off of the videos that I do that pertain to the transfer portal that have videos in them. That's okay. That's fine. I don't do this for the money. I do it for the hobby and the enjoyment because I love OSU and I'm a huge OSU fan, obviously. So that's okay. So I say that to say that's why this is not a live show here. And so we're going to dedicate this entire show to finishing up the transfer portal talk. And we're going to do the big three, the big UNT three. Obviously, Drew Mestemaker, Caleb Hawkins, and Wyatt Young are the three players that we're going to talk about. But before we move on to them, and I'll probably do this at the end of the video too, just kind of wanted to recap and summarize and cliff notes, if you will, this transfer portal class, which was very good, by the way. And it was good not just in numbers. Yes, if you look at the overall portal rankings, there's a couple of factors that go into it in terms of if you're into the rankings thing. One is Oklahoma State had to have so many different players that hurt them in the rankings because they were going to have to get a certain amount of guys at the end of the portal class that were just kind of filler, if you will. Filler is a terrible word to use. I hate that word, but it actually is probably pretty accurate. And when I say that, what I mean is they go and get guys that have all the projectables or measurables, but don't have the experience or there's a background there that kind of makes you scratch your head. And so they would be considered maybe guys that come to Oklahoma State and have to develop to ever have a chance to help the program. Projects, if you will, fillers, if you will, whatever you want to call them. So whenever you have to take more of those types of guys at the end of your class than everybody else does, that's going to bring down the overall ranking of your class. So if Oklahoma State had to take, say, 25 portal kids, portal guys in the transfer portal, and it was the top 25 guys that OSU got in this portal class, it'd probably be a top 5 class. That's where you're at. That's how good this class was. And overall, from a star power by player, per player type of ranking, this was a very good class as well. So to be honest with you, I'm going to say this, and I'm not huge into recruiting rankings. I think those people that do recruiting do a lot of work. They put a lot of work into it, but still, it's so subjective and it's so hard to really get a true read on all the people out there in high school. Now, when you add all these thousands of kids in the transfer portal, there is zero chance that any human being can evaluate all the high school guys and all the transfer portal guys and put a whole lot of depth behind it. It's just too time daunting. It's too difficult. So take what you will with the transfer portal recruiting or the rankings of it. But I will say this, again, I'm going to say it one more time. If this was a typical 20 to 25 recruit class in terms of the transfer portal, this would be a top 5 class. That's how good and how talented the young men coming in are now. Oklahoma State had to have it because we basically were completely empty when we started but they did get it. So to kind of just sum up the portal class and why it was so good, of course, you got Cale Smith back. You got LaDainian Fields back. That was absolutely huge. Still waiting on Iman Oates. That would be a big one there up front, no doubt about that. But in the secondary, you got guys like KJ Thomas. You got guys like Marion Horn. You got guys like Vincent Holmes and Trudell Berry, who have experience at the Power 4 level and are very talented, but for some reason just never have really grabbed on to the amount of talent that they had coming out of high school. KJ, I know, came out of Del City, and I can tell you he is explosive. He is dynamite. I'm excited to watch him and LaDainian. Also, Marion Horn, and all of these guys really compete. And then you get Cale Smith back as well at the corner position. I'm excited to see where the safety position goes with all the talent there. You got Quentin Hammonds, another young man that basically came out of nowhere to be a Trey Rucker type of player for UNT last year. You got Trudell Berry out of Vandy, who's very talented, was very highly sought after coming out of high school. Hasn't quite grabbed on, not quite sure why he didn't play last year. And then, like I said, Vincent Holmes, just watch his film. This dude is NFL talented, trust me. It's just got to put it together. Linebackers, you got Weslowski, the Arizona State linebacker transferring in from Arizona State to OSU. Tate Romney, who I really like, he's going to be on the edge. And then you got Isaiah Chisholm in the middle that kind of reminds me of a Nick Martin there. So I think you got some good experience coming in at linebacker. Not exactly sure about the depth. As far as the depth goes, that's probably the one position that I worry about the most. You also, don't let me forget, Jack freaking Puckett, man. You got Jack freaking Puckett coming in from UCO, and I know, hey, that's Division II, but he's been elite everywhere he's been. He's been a tackling machine everywhere he's been. And so, yes, will it be a step up, and will it be a transition to trying to just be able to adjust to the faster speeds and all of that, the better athletes? Of course. But when you've been as elite as Jack Puckett, I'm going to go ahead and say I think he's going to make an impact with Oklahoma State. Your defensive ends with James Williams, you got a lot of guys. Dominique Macon, I know, is going to be in the interior. Then hopefully you get Iman Oates. We're going to kind of lump all those guys together. And I'm going to miss some guys that we also brought in as well. So if I do that, please forgive me there. But I think the defensive end spot has brought in a lot of projectable type guys, like guys that, hey, if you can get the best version of them on the football field, you've got a hell of a player, right? And I think you got a couple of really nice anchors inside. And then the offensive line, I think, might be the unit moving to the offensive side that I am the most excited about, because I think guys like Tyler Mercer, even a guy like Joseph Hansen from Coastal Carolina, they specifically fit the system. They're guys that have been in 2-point, well, not Mercer because he's at center, but guys like Joseph Hansen, Jacob Sexton, Braden Nelson's a guy. I honestly think Braden Nelson is going to be absolutely awesome coming to Oklahoma State. Then you also have Jacoby Sanders coming back. But if Jacob Sexton can be healthy whatsoever, you got Ashton Lepo, you got Braden Nelson, who I think is going to be a superstar. Joseph Hansen, I should say, coming out of Coastal Carolina, who is a pass pro specialist, used to be out of the 2-point stance. I think it's an offensive line that's going to be pretty close to elite at pass blocking. And then the run blocking is going to be made easier by the fact that you have the wide splits, and then the offense is going to spread the defense out horizontally and vertically and just open up passing lanes through there. And then obviously the receivers, you got big guys, you got your small guys and Miles Coleman and Chris Barnes that are just shot out of a rocket. And you got a lot of talent. I think you also like in guys like Israel Polk, you got good length. And, Justin Bowick, I think, is a guy that's going to, as Eric Morris stated, he's going to be used differently. He's going to be more like the 6'4" Marcel Aitman type. That's how he's going to be used at Oklahoma State. And so I'm really excited. And then obviously you got Wyatt Young to anchor the whole thing. And then Drew Mestemaker, you got the trigger puller at quarterback. So you got everything you needed. You got depth, you got balance, you got diversity. And then you also brought in culture. You brought in guys that already understand the culture. You brought in guys like KJ Thomas and LaDainian Fields who played together on the same high school field. You brought in guys that at one point in time, like Io Dei, had been at UNT as well. guys that had played together before at different colleges. Tyler Mercer had also been at UNT. So I think the culture aspect of this thing and the installation part of this thing is going to be really kind of no different than any other college that's dealing with bringing in transfer portal guys. I think Oklahoma State and Eric Morris in particular and Raj Murdy and the whole coaching staff, they did such a great job of bringing in players that are already going to be familiar with each other, familiar with the system, familiar with the expectations, which all leads to the culture. So I think there's going to be a large part of this that has hit the ground and running. We'll see what kind of results that brings us at Oklahoma State, but definitely a very exciting time. And so the first guy that we're going to talk about here today, we're going to get to the big three that Oklahoma State brought in from UNT, the UNT 3, and this is Drew Mestemaker. And let me back up and show you why. One of the things I really like about him, we know he can stay in the pocket. We know he has the big arm, but look at that throw on the move. So he throws this how deep in the end zone here. Let me back it up and get it back to that last play. He throws it about 8 yards deep, about 10 yards deep in the end zone, and to the sideline it goes to the 20. That is about probably in the air, a 30-yard pass, 35-yard pass on the move, really nothing behind it. Here you see him throw it again and then doing a really good job of showing the arm strength down the boundary for a big catch to Wyatt Young. So I love the fact that not only is Drew Mestemaker a guy I'm not totally excited about throwing late back across your body. We know he can do that right there. Stick in the pocket. He's tall at 6'4", so he can see over those big offensive linemen. We know he can do that. He can sit on a hash, throw it to the far boundary, and show off that NFL caliber arm. But then also there, see how he threw that away from the safety? He throws balls away from trouble. He throws a very catchable ball, and he's a guy that can also throw on the run. There is literally not one single thing, that sprint pass right there. Remember that sprint pass from Taylor Cornelius against OU for the 2-point conversion? Oh, the receiver is wide open. I'm still haunted by that play. So Drew Mestemaker, he can throw on the run. We know he can throw. He can throw from the pocket like that, and he's tall enough to see over his offensive line. He keeps his eyes downfield. He moves through his progressions, and then he throws the ball to safety. And then once it gets to the receiver, yes, does he have an NFL caliber arm? Absolutely he does. But then again, at the same time, like Tom Brady almost, he throws a very, very, very catchable football. So really, there's just nothing here to nitpick about Drew Mestemaker other than the fact that until the last game of 2024 in the bowl when UNT played Texas State, he just basically had no experience since his freshman year of high school. Now, I'm not going to lie, that does worry me to the point where I'm curious to see what he will look like on a Big 12 field. But this is a guy, by all accounts, that is a high-level NFL-type quarterback. And I'll say this, OSU's had Rusty Hilger. OSU has had Brandon Whedon. OSU has had Mason Rudolph, guys that have played in the NFL at the quarterback spot. No doubt about that, Zach Robinson. But none of them have been the high level. Now, I know Brandon Whedon had his chances and that kind of deal. And Rusty Hilger played, and Mason Rudolph's had his chances here and there. And so did Zach Robinson. But Oklahoma State has not ever in my lifetime had a guy to where everybody went, hey, that is the big-time, high-level NFL-type quarterback. So this is potentially the best quarterback Oklahoma State has ever had on campus. Again, potentially means that you haven't done it yet, so it has to happen on the field. I get all of that. But just from the projections from people that are way smarter than me, projections from people that do this for a living, evaluating the type of pro they will be, Drew Mestemaker stands to be the best quarterback Oklahoma State has ever had. And when you put him with the talent that's around him, the excellence that is Eric Morris and his play calling, I mean, how exciting is that? So that's what you have coming down the line, and I don't want to make too big of a deal of it because I hate putting too much pressure on a young man. I'm just stating the facts as they stand. That's how excited you should be. Go and get your season tickets, and let's have a hell of a good time supporting these guys next year, especially with the UNT 3. And this is Caleb Hawkins, a young man out of North Rock Creek in Shawnee. and slipped underneath the cracks. I'm going to say this point blank. Nowadays, with the transfer portal, the opportunities for high school kids are much more limited. And when I think North Rock Creek's 3A, so unless you're a Bixby, well, you even saw Jack Puckett had to go make his mark. But a guy like Bodie Boydston, who played 8-man football, a guy like Mason McFall, who played 8-man football, a guy like Caleb Hawkins, even at a 3A level, okay? It's hard enough if you play at a high 6A level from, say, Plano East or Plano West or Allen or somewhere like that, or Galena North Shore. It's hard enough as a high school kid to get a college scholarship offer to begin with, because these colleges are going and getting portal guys instead of high school guys, because they want them to be, from a body and experience perspective, plug and play. You heard Eric Morris on his press conference just go on and on and on about the offensive line. What he was most excited about is that they were all plug and play because they had so much experience. So I'm telling a long story here just to say Caleb Hawkins was overlooked coming out of North Rock Creek, and it's totally understandable. It's going to continue to happen. This is going to be more and more of a thing that happens over and over. It's going to be more of a trend than it is a fad, because it's just so hard to get opportunities. So totally not surprised that a guy like Caleb Hawkins from a 3A high school in Oklahoma, that's not one of the perennial powers, got overlooked. But this is a guy, he has Joseph Randall written all over him. When I see him run, I just see Joseph Randall all over again. And to be honest with you, I think Joe Randall ran about a 4.6, maybe a little over a 4.6. I think Caleb Hawkins is quite a bit faster than Joe Randall. So take the Joe Randall elements, the size, the vision, the brutality of which he runs, the way he's able to run through contact and get yards after contact, that kind of thing. Think about Joe Randall in those terms. And remember, Joe Randall was a starting running back for the Dallas Cowboys, right? And then imagine quite a bit better speed. I think that's the potential you have here for Caleb Hawkins. And then also just the culture aspect of this. Just talk to anybody who has dealt with Caleb Hawkins, has been around Caleb Hawkins. This kid is not a good kid. This kid is elite when it comes to all the off-the-field stuff, the weight room work, the posting every day in terms of the work that he puts into it, the mentality, the attitude. You know, a lot of kids nowadays, they feel like they're entitled to this, they're entitled to that. There is no entitlement to this young man. Hey, and I'm going to put it point blank. Io Adei, Trey Page, William Mason, and then KJ Jones coming in from Jinx. These are all really good running backs. It's going to be a competition. Caleb Hawkins, yes, he's awesome coming in, and he's probably RB1 on paper. But trust me, he knows, and he will embrace the fact that he's going to have to earn all of his reps. And he has no entitlement to him, and so he will do that. And so I'm very excited about Caleb Hawkins, obviously. He's a young man that is coming in very highly touted and for good reasons. And then Wyatt Young here, man, this guy is so good. So he's kind of a jack of all trades, if you will. I mean, yes, he can stretch a defense, but look at this, man. This guy's fast. I don't know exactly how fast he is. I'm going to guess he's probably in the 4.4 range, just watching him run. I could be totally wrong. If somebody knows better than I do, please correct me, and please don't quote me on that. But just watching him go against other Division I athletes, I'll say this. If he's not in the 4.4 range, he's way more football fast than other people are. You know, sometimes track speed doesn't always translate to football speed. Every bit of Wyatt Young's speed translates to football speed. So I like the speed aspect. See how he goes across the middle? I love the fact that he's not afraid to go across the middle. And the reason why he's so good at that, a couple of reasons. One is right there. See that? Let me back this up. He finds, he was a quarterback in high school. So what he does is, and whenever he goes across, watch him right here. See, right now he is scoping to find the hole in the zone here. So see how, watch how he's going to find this hole in the zone. And right there, and then Mestemaker lets it develop. Finally, Wyatt Young finds the hole. So he gets in front of the defenders, finds the hole, And then he's very physical to block the defenders off. He uses his body. Think of Rashawn Woods. Remember how Rashawn Woods used to use his body, the way that he would shield his defender off? That's how Wyatt Young defends, that has shields defenders off, the way he uses his body. So he's able to go across the middle, find the holes in zone defense. Then he's physical enough to see how he found the hole right there. He found it again in his zone defense. But he's physical enough to use his body to out-physical defenders to beat them in one-on-one scenarios. And see right there, very physical. He loves contact. And then he has the speed. So see right there, he posted up. He used his body, found the hole in the zone defense, then found the hole in the zone defense again right there. And on the one before that, used his body and the strength and the physicalness of his body. And there's them in the Wildcat, going back to his high school roots, to shield his defender off. So again, a jack of all trades, master of all of them, to be honest with you, in the sense that he can stretch the defense. He can go across the middle, find the holes in the defense, sit down. He can shield his defender using his very physical frame and his body. And then he makes tough catches in traffic because he has great hands. I mean, he has great hands. And part of having great hands is not concentrating on the defender and instead concentrating on catching the football. So there is a zero fear aspect. See, there, shielded the defender and then kept running. Just basically showed off every part of what he does right there, Wyatt Young. So 6 foot, is he the biggest? No. At whatever he runs, is he going to be the fastest guy in the field? No. But this guy, whenever you put the full package of everything you can do on a football field together in terms of a receiver, this guy is awesome. I would be totally shocked, barring injury, if he is not a great pro for a long time. That's how good he is. So Wyatt Young, I am so pumped to watch this guy. Kind of reminds me of a bigger version maybe and of a Josh Cooper type of player, but I think the high-end ceiling level is a bigger ceiling for him, if you will. But I am very excited about all three of these guys. I think they are as advertised. And the reason why I think they are as advertised, think about Drew Mestemaker, okay? This is a guy that in high school, especially in today's day and age where kids skip high schools one after the other, whenever he was not playing quarterback, which is what he wanted to do, instead of taking his ball and going home and going somewhere else, he said, you know what? I'm just going to dig in and figure out a way to help the team. So instead of showing entitlement, instead of showing me first, he said, hey, it's kind of like the old saying, don't ask what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. You remember that from JFK in 1960, right as he got on Inauguration Day, right? Kind of that deal. That's the mentality that Drew Mestemaker is bringing to Oklahoma State. He will be the leader, and so that will be the mentality of this team, okay? Don't ask what your team can do for you. Ask what you can do for your team. Just look at my background and what I did. That's the background of Drew Mestemaker. Don't even get me started on the Caleb Hawkins deal in terms of how he wasn't even the starting running back going into UNT, right? He had to earn every rep he got. He's going to have to earn every rep at OSU. These guys are not expecting a handout just because they got paid. Okay, Wyatt Young is fantastic. He's earned everything he's gotten. So not only are they really good, part of what's made them really good is the fact that they have had the mentality, the same mentality that their head coach Eric Morris has had, that he had to have to become a college player coming out of Sweetwater, and that is zero entitlement, earn everything you get. So when you put elite talent with a mentality that you have to earn everything you get, you end up with what UNT had last year with the Big Three. You get with what we're all hoping translates to the same amount of success at OSU, and you get a team that gets OSU back into the national spotlight. So I hope you've enjoyed my coverage of the transfer portal. That will be, other than, maybe conversation about it, but in terms of just a video dedicated specifically to the transfer portal with videos and that will be it. Unless you have a special request. If you have a special request, let me know. So, hey, make sure and tune in tonight when Scott McKinley joins our live show. We'll get into, again, the chant, all the basketball action, both men's and women, the wrestling action last night with Little Rock. We'll get into all of that on tonight's show. Come and join us, again, 8 o'clock. So until then, I want to thank you for tuning in, and as always, go Pokes.